The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off. Welcome to I Had to Say It, the podcast where I not only say the things I need to say, but the things I think you need to hear. And your feelings, they're not a factor. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. So we're going to start out as we do by saying Josh, Jake, B-Word, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, Javier, Fitz, McShane, El Jefe, El Deve, and El Morte. Thank you guys for the constant support. Your friendship means more to me than I know how to say. So we're going to start off the episode with a little bit of light housekeeping. First thing I want to tell you is this is kind of a heads up. There is going to be another listener engagement competition thing going on. Friend of the show, Ken Madden, recently sent me a bunch of goodies for you guys to have a chance to win. We have a couple copies of his calendar of assorted cars that he has painted, which is really badass. I got a couple copies of the Inktober coloring book, which the prints are absolutely phenomenal. And we have a couple autographed prints of Ken's original artwork. So the very first thing we're going to be doing, and I'm going to be doing a giveaway for a prize bundle with this. And what we're doing is I'm going to be doing a scavenger hunt based on the podcast. Now, what it's going to be is there's going to be some questions. Some of them you'll be able to figure out just if you're a regular listener of the show. Some of them you're going to probably have to do a little digging for. The form is going to be put up with the list with the questions on the website at ihadtosayitpodcast.com. There'll be a tab. Just click on it. It'll say scavenger hunt, and it'll download the list of the things you need to find. The first person to find all of the correct answers for the trivia questions that I'm going to put on there will get a prize pack. And then I'll probably do a second place and a third place. And that will be something fun. I'm going to post the list. The list will officially be available as of the drop of next week's episode on February 13th. And so if you're a Free Feeds listener, that'll get you, that'll be your chance to go in there and download the list and start going to dig and find the information to answer all the questions I asked. And, I hope this is just some fun for you guys. I hope I get some engagement out of this where you guys actually, listen and have some fun with it and answer the questions, and it'll make me feel like I'm doing something useful and fun with it. So thank you again to Ken Madden at Mag K Studios. Again, the dude's artwork is friggin' awesome. And thank you for, all the support you've shown the show. And this was really generous of him. And if you guys get a chance, just go over there, check out his work, check out his website, magkstudios.com. And, just say, hey, I'm a listener from Aaron's podcast, and I just wanted to come check out your show and say thanks for the support or whatever. Shoot him a little message. And realistically, I can't stress this enough. Go check out the artwork. It's fucking amazing stuff. But anyway, so that's the announcement portion of the show. The Patreon episodes there'll be 2 coming out this month. I've got the kind of outline written for them, and I just have to stop being a lazy schmuck and just, pull the trigger and record them. So that being said, okay, now it's time to get into the ranty, which is why I'm assuming people are actually here, because Aaron ranty kind of funny. So as this weekend opened up, we're going into all the bullshit that's been going on, and the Congressional Bipartisan Committee that's writing the new border security bill dropped the announcement on Friday that, okay, here's this border security bill. And basically now they're all trying to push to get it through right away. Now, continuing a long-standing practice of dropping bills extremely close to the time where they're expected to have a vote on them, instead of giving the legislators actual time to revise, review, and debate the points of the bills before they vote on them, which has become pretty much standard operating procedure in Washington, D.C., because it is a corrupt shit show that is realistically derelict in their duties and utter failures at doing their fucking jobs. The only thing they're good for is enriching themselves and bankrupting the American people. But this one was really no different. Now, it's been said by people smarter than me. George Carlin actually said it when I was a kid, and it's something that had always stuck in my head. And he said, when you hear the term bipartisan, it just means a grander than usual deceit is being executed. And he wasn't wrong then. He's not wrong now. It's still very applicable. This bipartisan border security bullshit that they've decided to put forth, after a very cursory reading of it, because it's 300 and some odd pages, with all kinds of provisions and allowances and exclusions and regulations being put into place, but essentially does nothing. It does fuck all at a price tag of $114 billion fucking dollars, which will be tacked on to the American national debt, which is over $34 trillion at this point and growing regularly. It's rapidly approaching the point where the interest alone is going to become $1 trillion a year. And no one's buying our debt. The U.S. government is insolvent. It's fucked, and they're just bailing on the Titanic at this point. They're not willing to do the drastic measures that would be required to right this fucking ship. So, it's all going to go bad. It's going to go sideways. But so they put forth this bill. Basically, it says it would require 7 days of over 5,000 illegal encounters to activate the clauses in this bill that would enact the power to shut down the border until where they don't have any more encounters for 7 days at the border, or it might have been 14 days. It's a very tedious fucking read, and deliberately so at this point. I refuse to believe that these things aren't being done intentionally to stop people from reading them, to stop people from being able to critique them and criticize them, and call them out for what they actually are, which is utterly fucking useless. Now, the primary reason this is utterly fucking useless and a larger than usual deceit is the president doesn't need any new authorizations. They don't need any new authority to secure the border and close this country down and stop the tide of illegal immigration that realistically it doesn't seem like they have any actual inclination to stop. It seems like this is actually what they're encouraging. Now, this horseshit bill that they're trying to pass, at casual first glance, allows for 5,000 illegal immigrants to enter the country per day before even beginning to trigger anything to enact the securing of the border. It allots, I think it was $138 million or something like that, to aid and process the illegals that are already here. There will be it's basically handing out amnesty and streamlining the process for them to become working citizens, to get work permits, to start having jobs and being able to earn income and open their pathway to citizenship. And that basically, what it does is it floods the entire, I hate the people that are saying it's like, population replacement and demographic replacement. It's all conspiracy stuff, but it basically reads that way. When you're bringing in a bunch of people, they're loyal to one side. It's a uniparty. It's an approach to flood the market with, and I've said it before, the Democrats are losing their voter base because people are seeing that they can't deliver on any of the shit they promise. And subsequently, they need to import new voters that will support their horseshit to keep them in a majority. And if you look at things like the declining birth rate amongst the native population of the United States, as opposed to the average birth rate of these people that they're transplanting in, they're going to breed out the entire existing population in about a fucking generation. It's like a 3-to-1 birth rate. And that's makes it really hard to keep calling this shit conspiracy theory. And I can't help it that it actually lends credence to what the fucking nutballs are saying. But it does. And I'm always objective, or at least I try to always be objective before I start looking at these things and forming an opinion. And ever since I was a kid, I've believed that our immigration system needs reform. I have a lot of friends that are children of immigrants. So some of them are children of people that came here illegally. I have friends that are actually illegal immigrants. It's not that I necessarily judge people based on the legality of their immigration status. However, that doesn't mean I believe just anybody and every motherfucker that comes along should be able to come here unvetted. And it's just gotten easier over the last 3 years. And they're trying to say it's some sort of magical crisis because then the Democrat talking point at this point is, well, it's Congress's fault for delaying their actions for the last decade. And it's, no, let's acknowledge the truth. The elephant in the room is that the fucking Sleepy Joe literally ordered the Border Patrol to open the borders. They sent in crews to take down the physical barriers that were erected to stop people from crossing illegally. I'm all for streamlining the legal immigration process, but just to say these people get carte blanche because they came in illegally and they're here now and there's nothing we can do about it is literally a slap in the face to everyone who did it the right way, who did it the legal way, to the people who spent hundreds and thousands of dollars to do it the legal fucking way, to pay the fees, to go through the process, to vest their time and their effort and their money to get in the right fucking way. And now you say, oh no, just anybody can be here. It's literally a slap in the face to anybody who did it the legal right way. And that's not even to begin to address all the issues that are compounded by unregulated, unrestricted border crossings, whether it be the human trafficking or the drug smuggling or the arms smuggling or any of the other myriad fucking problems that happen when you have an unmonitored, unchecked system in place. So they're saying that this is all the fault because it's been that way and this way. And no, it's not. And it's at the point where they're literally telling you to deny the evidence of your own eyes. It's the same thing they're doing with the economy and all the gaslighting and the bullshit that's coming out. And it's disheartening. It's utterly fucking ridiculous. It's really kind of sad. But there is, a little bit of hope. At least some of the Republicans in Congress are not willing to bring this bill to the floor. And they've already made their statements, and I've got my couple of sitting congressional people that I actually begrudgingly respect. I got Thomas Massey and Rand Paul, and they're all calling out what a load of shit this is, because attached to this bill that spends I think the grand total came out to be something like, I don't know, $3 or $4 billion to actually secure the border. And the vast majority of the money that is not earmarked for like bailing out all the sanctuary cities who, are being hoisted on their own petard at this point because they're bearing the consequences of the policies they put in place because they're being flooded with actual immigrants instead of having them all stay in like Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, where they're out of sight, out of mind, where it's really easy to say you want to be a sanctuary city when you don't think any fucking migrants are actually going to show up, or maybe a couple hundred a year. When you're getting thousands of them and you're still only getting a fraction of what the border states are dealing with, fuck you. This is what you deserve. You don't need our bailout. You're taking tax money from people who didn't vote for your policies to bail yourselves out so you can go fuck yourselves. But that's still not even the lion's share of the $114 billion price tag that is attached to this nonsense. $60 billion additional dollars to the Ukraine, which by and wide, the Americans are sick of funding this fucking war. It's a proxy war. It's not. We have no business being involved in it. It's not about justice or democracy because the Ukrainian parliament has been. Ukrainian leaders have been proven to be embezzling the fucking money that was supposed to be buying arms and supplies. $40 million made off with a couple of fucking officials. Tens of millions of dollars they cannot account for. They haven't been audited. There's been no accounting. There's been no proof that they're actually spending the money the way they're fucking supposed to. And we're financing their entire country's infrastructure. And then there's another $17 billion for fucking Israel. Now, Israel has a lower GDP to debt ratio than we do. They can finance their own shit. They're in a much better position to buy their own supplies for this fucking war. But no, they want to send more money there. And then there's more money in the budget for humanitarian aid to Palestine. So we're financing both sides of that conflict as well, because any money being sent to humanitarian aid in Palestine is pretty much immediately co-opted by Hamas. It's not, I'm not trying to be any kind of way. I'm not weighing in on either side of who's right, who's wrong in this conflict, because it's a conflict that's been going on since time out of fucking mind. As long as there have been Arabs and Jews, they've been trying to wipe each other off the face of the fucking map. But being realistic about it, yes, from a realistic standpoint, the the Gazans, the Palestinian people, are victims of their own fucking government because they're duly elected and in place government who subsequently stopped having elections. The kind of shit they're basically starting to try and pull here. Yeah, those horrible motherfuckers are abusing their people as much, if not more, than the people of Israel do. So it's really hard for me to go, you know what, it's a good idea to send those motherfuckers more money too. So this bill that is supposed to be addressing the security of the United States borders and the sovereignty of our country literally does nothing to address the border security or the sovereignty of this nation or to maintain or address the idiots that are already here illegally or to do anything other than launder more money into fucking forever wars that we don't really need to be financing because our country's gone to shit so fast. Our credit, our national credit has been downgraded. Our debt to earnings ratio, our GDP we're almost at the point where we can't afford to just pay the interest on the outstanding fucking debt. And one of these days, these chickens are going to come home to roost, and the American people are pretty well and truly fucked. Now, they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to say, hey, guess what? We're screwing you guys. They're just going to keep doing it and hope nobody notices. And that's why you got to do things like pay attention to, X, Twitter, whatever you're calling it. I still call it Twitter when I talk about it. I'm old. I'm set in my ways. Whatever. But at least that is bringing an alternate perspective to the table. At least it's showing you things from boots on the ground. And it's showing you things you're not going to see anywhere on the mainstream media because the mainstream media is effectively an arm of the government at this point. It is a propaganda outlet writ large. They are actively trying to take Elon out every way they can. They're trying to have him ruined financially. They're trying to cost him money. The politicians are going after Elon's payday. The state of Delaware has voided Elon's compensation contract from Tesla because he since it's incorporated in Delaware, this judge decided they could strike down the will of the executive board and the board of directors and the stockholders who voted. 87% of the stockholders voted to Elon's compensation package, which was worth $55 billion when he met certain benchmarks. He exceeded every single one of those benchmarks as the CEO of Tesla. He made the shareholders tons of fucking money. He ran the business to the point where it was so successful that a valuation of $650 billion to get his payday. And this judge summarily said, you know what? No, that's not valid. You can't have your payday. Based on a lawsuit filed by a guy who owned 9 shares of Tesla stock, who tried to say the board was packed with Elon's cronies and his compensation package wasn't fair to the shareholders. Now, the shareholders made money hand over fist under Elon's leadership, which was part of the agreement for him to actually get paid. He made nothing for 5 years running that company, and he hit every benchmark or exceeded every benchmark he agreed to in his compensation package. He earned his fucking money. Now, I shouldn't feel like I feel like I shouldn't have to be out here stumping for a trillionaire to fucking get paid. Well, he's not trillionaire yet, but, multi-billionaire. And but what's right is right. What's fair is fair. The guy made a deal. He kept up his end of the bargain, and he deserves to be compensated for it. Does he need an extra $55 billion? I'm sure it's not going to hurt him. Is it going to kill him if he doesn't have it? Probably not. But ultimately, what's right is right, what's fair is fair, and Elon deserves this fucking check, and fuck you, Delaware. I mean, he's already decided he's reincorporating Tesla's headquarters in Texas, so, good for him. I'm sure that'll work out much better. And frankly, fuck that judge in Delaware for being a just commie piece of shit. And that's going to bring me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is commie pieces of shit. And this clown show of a rep, one Anya Presley, is accusing Walgreens of being racist for closing a store in the hood in fucking Baltimore. Or Boston, I'm sorry, not Baltimore, Boston. Because it's being robbed blind on a regular fucking basis. And this delusional bitch is talking about, it's a deliberate act against brown people and black people, and it's about they're taking away services and medicines and formula and diapers from these poor people because of their skin color. It's a racist move. No, you ignorant commie bitch. It's called a business decision. When you operate a store in a neighborhood that has no problem with robbing the motherfucker blind, the store doesn't make any money. And if the store's not making any money, there's no reason for it to be there. There is no incentive for this corporation, which exists to make money for its shareholders, to be there if they're not making any money. They're under no obligation to maintain a store at a loss to serve the public. It is not a public service. This stupid bitch wants to scream racism because, as any far-left asshole does, when they have no argument of merit, they appeal to emotions. And everybody knows the far-left's favorite call right now is, that's racist. Shortly behind, that's phobic, or that's, exclusionary. I think racism probably isn't the top tier one anymore because nobody takes it seriously anymore because there are so many... yes, there are still genuine racists out there, but for the most part, it's so just beaten and so overused that nobody fucking cares when you say it anymore. It doesn't carry nearly the weight it did 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But then again, 10 years or 20 years ago, it wasn't being brought up every time something happened that someone didn't fucking like. It was brought up when the circumstances actually went, yeah, you know what? That might be a little sketch. It might be some shitty fucking people doing things based on something stupid. Now you get stupid motherfuckers who want to scream it every time something happens to them because they feel like, it can't be because I'm a stupid piece of shit. It has to be because of something I have no control over. Because that's how people avoid responsibility. That's how people manage to justify their own shit behavior while holding no accountability. It's always got to be somebody else's fault. It's always got to be because of a factor beyond my control that I'm a shit human being. It's not that, I do dumb things and I have the consequences of doing dumb shit and being a petty, worthless fuck. It's because of what I look like. And frankly, this bitch looks like Black Mr. Clean. So she's got a lot going against her, but it's got nothing to do with her being black and everything to do with her being an entitled fucking cunt that thinks somebody owes her something. And she's got a chip on her shoulder and no real fucking use or skills from what I can tell, because that's her immediate default. It's not, here, let me call out these shithead thieves that are stealing shit. It's, let me blame the corporation for not wanting to operate at a loss to provide for these worthless motherfuckers who are robbing them blind. Nobody wants to say, hey, you worthless motherfuckers, you're destroying the community by taking away things that people need, and you're going to get this store closed because you're a selfish piece of shit, because instead of going out and getting a job and earning what you want, you're going to come here and take it because you think you're entitled to it and you deserve it, and you're probably going to go out and sell this shit on the street for, maybe less than it would cost in the store because it didn't cost you anything, so it's pure profit. But at some point, the stories are going to go away and your source is going to drop and you're not going to have anything to sell. So it's short-sighted, narrow-minded, it's not even good survival skills. It is seriously people with no instincts whatsoever. And it comes in under a whole instant gratification mindset. They don't have any long-term thought processes. They're not thinking about, what's going to happen when the store closes. They're thinking, I'm going to get this fucking bag while I can. And frankly, I have no sympathy for them. I don't feel bad that the community's losing their drugstore. I don't feel bad that the people aren't going to be able to get their diapers and their formula, because you know what? If the people that were going to get their diapers and their formula would have put their fucking foot down and said, we're not going to back a policy that lets these assholes come in and rob these stores blind, then they wouldn't be dealing with the consequences of those actions. Kind of a guilt by complicity kind of thing. And it sucks. It's terrible for the people that are poor and disadvantaged and live in these shit neighborhoods through no fault of their own because they can't afford to get out. But at the same time, there's nothing that says you have to keep your mouth shut and not call out pieces of shit for being pieces of shit. So my sympathy is, again, very tempered for pretty much all of society at this point. Any of these whiny, permissive assholes who didn't have a problem with it when it was going on, the people that were saying, yeah, I'm going to go buy the stolen shit from the asshole who's selling it right in front of the store, you know what? This is kind of your fault too. And again, I understand a little bit. You got to buy it somewhere, and if that's the only place you can get it, that's the only place you can get it. But yeah, those actions have consequences. And it's that, saying, okay, we're going to go along with this. We're going to defund the police. We're going to make laws where you can't prosecute people for petty theft. Or more importantly, when you get the whining, and I'm back to the whining, bleeding heart liberal judges who just let criminals out. If you're a property owner and you try and defend your property, they'll throw the fucking book at you. if you're a stand-up citizen who's acting in defense of another citizen, they're going to throw the fucking book at you. If you're a scumbag and you're stealing shit because you're a fucking scumbag, apparently it's not that big a deal. You just get to sign a little piece of paper and go out, and don't you get in trouble again before your court date, buddy, or we're going to have to, give you another piece of paper. Fucking clowns. And they don't see a problem with this. They don't understand that. I mean, it's a complete lack of comprehension. I blame Elmo. That's something else that happened this past week. It's touched on more deeply by, again, smarter, better people than me. Like, go listen to this week's episode of Whiskey Hell. It was a very entertaining episode. And they talked about Elmo. And I'm going to talk about Elmo because it's fucking ridiculous. But I blame Elmo for the current state of society because Sesame Street really started going downhill right around the same time they introduced that little red vibrating fuck. And I remember when I was a kid, Sesame Street taught things like, don't be a piece of shit, and here's how you count, and here's the sounds a letter make. And now it's like, hey, look, this little Muppet is fucking homeless and has AIDS. Yeah, kids can't count to fucking 10, and they don't know which bathroom to use, but by all means, stress the homeless Muppet with AIDS. Good fucking job, PBS. You're doing a wonderful bang-up fucking job. And, yeah, so that little orange bastard, he showed up on Twitter, and symptomatic of the fucking state of the nation. Just, Elmo's just checking in. How's everybody doing? And just all these random assholes just pouring out their souls to a fucking sock with eyeballs on it. It's just ridiculous. And it says something because so many people, oh, I'm not doing good. Oh, I'm stressed. Oh, I'm this. And I'm all for reaching out and talking to your problems, but not with random ass people. And it pains me to say it, but the mental state of this country is so weak and fucking fragile. Instead of just being told to fucking nut up and deal with it, you got these whiny, entitled Gen Z cockstains that are just out here. Oh, poor me. My life isn't what I thought it would be. I'm never going to be able to own a house. Yeah, well, you know what? You're also the morons that said, hey, this guy promised me free college money back, so I'm going to vote for him. And when his policies turned out to be utter bullshit because you have the comprehension of a fucking 10-penny nail, and you don't seem to understand what the actual authority the president has, and the president doesn't control the purse string, so he can't wipe out your debt. And every time he tries to do it, the fucking Supreme Court comes along and slaps it down because he's overstepping the boundaries of his office again and again and again. But I digress. So, stupid people easily bought. As I mentioned before, the collegiate motherfuckers are the most indoctrinated and the most inclined to believe they are somehow better than other people, despite the fact that they lack the coping skills or the ability to function in a modern society. And somehow they still think, they're the victims. Poor them. Boo-hoo. It's not their fault because they have no concept of consequences or even reality, really, because they're out here pouring out their souls to random strangers on the internet because of the prompting of a fucking Muppet. It's sad. And some of this shit just made me want to fucking rage. Like, you weak seed fucking, you are the fucking aftercome that somehow managed to impregnate an egg. You aren't even a full human being. You're not a developed individual because your simple-minded, weak self is complaining about everyday shit. Oh my God, I'm so tired. I had to work 40 hours and all I got is enough money to pay my rent and pay some electric bill and I don't hardly have anything left to go out to eat or have any fun or enjoy my life. Guess what, Buttercup? It sucks. It's called adulting. It's been that way for everybody. You're not special, you're not unique, and you're not the only one suffering. Your parents had to go out and bust their humps and work. And you know what? They did it, and they didn't whine and bitch because they knew what was expected of them. It's called being a fucking adult. You are responsible for making your own way in the world. Nobody owes you a fucking thing. You're out here whining and pissing and moaning because, oh my God, it's not fair. I have to go out and work if I want to have things. And I can't even afford to have this two-bedroom. My rent is $1,600 a month and I only make $500 a week, and it's not fair. It doesn't leave me with anything left to go out and have fun or enjoy my life or do anything with my friends. Well, guess what, motherfucker? Maybe you don't need a $1,600 a month two-bedroom apartment by your fucking self. I know it's a really confusing concept to these young entitled pricks. When I was in my early 20s, I had multiple roommates and multiple jobs all at one time, and I was still fucking miserable. because I was working myself to death to barely be able to get by so I could, I had money to go out and get drunk on the fucking weekend. Woohoo. But at the same time, I wasn't sitting there whining about how unfair it was. I was doing what I needed to survive because I understood that was my responsibility. Nobody was going to come and fucking save me. Every last one of these whiny, puling Gen Z fuckstains seems to think that they deserve more than they're getting, regardless of the fact that they're not putting in more effort than they are. They don't seem to see the equation between the more you do, the more you get. The more you get, the more you have. The more you have, the happier you are, as long as you're based on material things. But yes, getting through the beginning stages of life fucking sucks. And meanwhile, you're looking for somebody else to save you, and you're handing more and more power to the motherfuckers that are the reason you can't have the things you want in the first fucking place. Because no matter how hard you try and twist it to suit your fucking reality, nothing comes for free and nothing comes from nowhere. Everything that exists has to come from someone else creating it. Just because you want it, if you can't create it yourself, someone else has to do the work. If someone else has to do the work, they deserve to be fairly compensated for their work. It's supply and demand. It's basic economics. It's simple, natural order of things that these morons don't seem to understand. So that's why they embrace all these stupid leftist bullshit commie ideas, because they want things they are unworthy of or undeserving of, but they somehow think they should have them simply because they want them. And that's how they're easily manipulated, because they're stupid motherfuckers. And since they're stupid motherfuckers, they have people that are less stupid but more evil manipulating them by saying, oh, here, look, we'll give you what you want because you should have it, because you deserve to have it. Never mind the fact that that means they have to take it from somebody else. And it's never a case of fair trade, because when you're taking something from somebody who has it to give it to somebody who hasn't earned it, that's fucking theft. It doesn't matter if it's a governmental body doing it or an individual with a fucking gun. It's taking something you didn't earn to give it to somebody who didn't deserve it. It's the most basic principles. It's the natural order of things. And if you don't understand that, you're a soft-brained, smooth-minded motherfucker, and you have no real character or quality to your... you're just a worthless motherfucker. And these whining, entitled fucks are, oh, well, I've worked my ass off, and all I can do is pay my rent and buy some groceries, and then everything's gone. Yeah, you know why? Because you voted for 9 million social programs, and the money to fund that shit's got to come from somewhere. The government doesn't earn a fucking dime, you simple-minded fuck. They just take it from the people who do. And then they hyper-inflate money via printing unbacked fiat currency, which has no backing in any kind of physical real world other than the fact that they say it's worth something. And the more of this shit that exists out there in the stream, the less each single individual piece of it is fucking worth. So when they just print money out of nowhere to give it to people, they're not just magically granting you something. They're devaluing every piece of that already exists. So your money has less buying power, so it's worth less, so you can get less with it. It's not a complicated concept. You just don't want to hear it because it makes you sad and it hurts the feels. It's not fair that that's how it worked. The government should be able to give us whatever they want, except for the government doesn't actually have anything of their own. They're fucking parasites, and they're at that degree of infestation where they're killing the fucking host. And rather, because these are actually self-aware parasites, they're not like your average in nature parasite where it's just kicking along a genetic imperative to multiply and propagate until it fucking dies and then its progeny carries on the cycle. No, these are self-aware parasites. So what they're doing is they see the host is dying and they are actively trying to bleed every last thing they can out of it before they flee to try and find greener pastures. Or in this case, more likely a slave caste, which will be so completely dependent on them for everything that they will have no choice but to provide for their masters, which is really the direction you fucking morons are steering us, because as long as they're still trying to maintain any kind of illusion of a democracy, which we're not a democracy, we're a democratic republic, but as long as you morons think that you have this say, and you still have to be manipulated because you're not so dependent yet that they can just control you. And that's the thing is they still have to be careful because we're still in we haven't reached that tipping point yet. There's still enough people out there that could conceivably strike back. But we're getting there, and you fucking morons are accelerating the problem. You're making it worse. You're exasperating it. Every time you go to Uncle Sam with your hat in your hand and your fucking hand out, you make the problem worse. You give them more power. You give them more leverage. You give them another little piece of your fucking self that they own forever, because no matter how temporary they promise you it's going to be and how it's just for a little bit till we get things fixed, they're never going to give it back. The government's really good at taking more power and more rights and more liberty and more freedom away from people. They're not so great at giving it back. Look at their track record. It doesn't fucking happen. Income tax was supposed to be a temporary thing to offset the cost of World War I. Okay? World War I, the one that even your grandparents weren't in. Yeah. Temporary my fucking ass. There's nothing more temporary than a government temporary solution. There's nothing more permanent than a government temporary solution. That's what that meant to say. These fucking assholes have been doing it for generations, and they just keep getting better at it. And the population keeps getting dumber and more dependent, and we're heading towards a fucking cliff. And these assholes are fucking lubing the wheels on the cart. We're going faster and faster. And we still have time. We can still pull the fucking brake. But you assholes have to pull your heads out of your fucking asses. It's really not that complicated. Stop worrying about your fucking feelings for 5 minutes and use your fucking heads. Stop letting them divide you. Stop letting them tell you you're the victim. Stop letting them tell you that everybody that doesn't exactly agree with you is the bad guy. They are the fucking bad guys. It's really not complicated. It's actually a pretty cut and dry scenario. As long as they keep us biting at each other, we're not biting at them where we should be. And there was a time where this would be like the most ridiculous rhetoric you could tell me. You could tell me this shit 20 years ago. Well, maybe a little longer than that. I'm getting kind of old. Maybe it was 25 years ago when I was young and naive, and I thought we could change the world just by doing things because it was really the right thing to do, and it was a fair thing to do. And meanwhile, the crotchety old bastard, oh no, that's a slippery slope. It's going to make things worse. And you assholes are doing everything in your power to prove the fucking people I couldn't stand when I was your age fucking right. It fucking enervates the shit out of me. Stop compounding the situation. Stop thinking your feelings are the most important thing on the fucking planet and pull your head out of your ass. Your feelings are going to lead you into fucking chains, you morons. Anyway, I'm all worked up and I'm tired now, so that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord. Come and interact, be a part of the show. Buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.